Let us now discuss the second topic of the chapter, the rise of commercial forestry. Please look into page number 83. This topic has been divided into four subtopics. The first one is how were the lives of the people dependent on forest were affected. Second one is how did forest rules affect cultivation. Third one, who could hunt? And fourth one is new trades, new employment and new services. Let us now first discuss about the rise of commercial forestry. As in the previous section, we have seen that the British needed forests in order to build ships and railways. They were also worried that the use of forests by local people and the reckless felling of trees by traders would destroy forests. So, they decided to invite a German expert, Dietrich Brandes, for advice and made him the first Inspector General of Forests in India. Brandes realized that a proper system had to be introduced to manage the forest and people had to be trained in the science of conservation. This system would need legal sanction, he thought. So, Brandes set up the Indian Forest Service in 1864 and helped formulate the Indian Forest Act of 1865. The Imperial Forest Research Institute was set up at Dehradun in 1906. The system they introduced here was called scientific forestry. Now let us understand what is scientific forestry. In scientific forestry, natural forests which had lots of different types of trees were cut down. In their place, one type of tree was planted in a straight row. This is called plantation. Forest officials made plans for forest management. They planned how much of the plantation area to be cut every year. The area to be cut was then to be replanted so that it was ready to be cut again in some years. After the Forest Act was enacted in 1865, it was amended twice. Amendment means changes. Once in 1878 and then in 1927. The 1878 Act divided forests into three categories. The first one is reserved forest, second one protected forest, and the third one village forest. The best forests were called reserved forests. Villagers could not take anything from these forests, even for their own use. For house building or fuel, they could only take wood from protected or village forest. In this condition, their lives were affected badly. In forest areas, people use forest products, fruits, vegetables, medicines, fuel, etc. Almost everything is available in forest. The Forest Act meant severe hardships for villagers across the country. After the act, all their daily practices became illegal. People were now forced to steal wood from the forests, and if they were caught, they were at the mercy of the forest guards, who would take bribes from them. People grew poorer and poorer. How did forest rules affect cultivation? You can see this in page number 86. One of the major impacts of European colonialism was on the practice of shifting cultivation or swidden agriculture. Since ages, people in forests were following this practice of shifting cultivation. What is shifting cultivation? In shifting cultivation, Parts of the forest are cut and burnt in rotation. Seeds were sown in the ashes after the first monsoon rains, and the crop is harvested by October. Such plots are cultivated for a couple of years and then left fallow for 12 to 15 years. European foresters regarded this practice as harmful for the forest. Therefore, they decided to ban shifting cultivation. As a result, many communities were forcibly displaced from their homes in the forest. Some had to change occupation, while some resisted. Large and small rebellions took place here and there in the forests. Now, who could hunt? You can find this in page number 87. Before the forest laws, many people who lived in or near forests had survived by hunting. This customary practice was prohibited by the forest laws. Those who were caught hunting were now punished for poaching. While the forest laws deprived people of their customary rights to hunt, hunting of big game became a sport. The British saw large animals as sign of a wild, primitive and savage society. They believed that by killing dangerous animals, the British would civilize India. They gave rewards for killing tigers, wolves and other large animals on the grounds who posed to be a threat to cultivators. An interesting note here, the Maharaja of Sarguja alone shot 1,157 tigers and 2,000 leopards. A British administrator, George Yule, killed 400 tigers. With the coming of British, however, trade was completely regulated by the government. Grazing and hunting by local people were restricted. In this process, many communities like the Kauravas, Karachas and the Irukulas of the Madras Presidency lost their livelihoods. Some of them began to be called as the criminal tribes and were forced to work instead of living inside the forest. They were forced to work in factories, mines and plantations under government supervision. In these jobs, their wages were very low and conditions of work very bad. They could not return easily to their home villages from where they had been recruited.